Hey, Clear Lake peeps, Ross England here with your report for, or at least my report for Clear Lake for May 10th, 2024. It's a Friday. Sorry I missed yesterday, but with any luck, we'll get back on a little bit more regular schedule. So, the big story here is, as you saw in the beginning of my video, and you've already heard it, wind. It just continues to be an issue. Mother Nature is tearing the living crud out of our opportunities to fish. I believe there was a fire and police, I don't know exactly what they call it, event that was scheduled for Thursday and Friday this week. And I do believe that it got canceled because of it. So, okay, let's jump right into conditions, at least conditions that I've seen. I've been around as far the upper end of the lake, from Lakeport all the way to Lucerne, Soda Bay, Narrows, Redbud Arm as far down as Canocti Bay, over towards Monitor this week. So running all over the place, mostly searching for clear enough water to sight fish. And I just haven't found any. Don't get me wrong, there's moments and there are spots where the water will clear up enough to where you can actually see something. But unless you're looking in 3 feet of water or less, it's pretty hard to find water clear enough, mostly because of, well, as of yesterday, this really strong wind that blew into Lakeport most of the day, most of the night before and day, just trashed the Lakeport shoreline. A combination of just stirred up bottom content and algae. The same thing that I saw. Very disappointed and ran down and took a look around in Canocti Bay. Could see about 3.5 feet. I mean, you could see a rock at 4 feet, but you couldn't tell if there was anything sitting around the rock at that depth, at least the day that I was there. And it was mostly just filtered algae that was just suspended in the water. So water clarity is still a big issue. I have not been down as far as the Redbud launch ramp, but I still continue to hear that there is an algae bloom down there. So that's your water clarity issue. It sucks. For somebody who, and I've said this before, and sorry I'll keep repeating it, but for somebody who really likes to sight fish, the month of April and May are pretty much looking like they're going to be a bust. So things could always change. If the wind would quit blowing, maybe things will turn around, but we'll see. Right now, kind of tough going. Lake level, if you look at the gauge, it's bouncing all over the place because of the wind. I'm just going to say it looks like it's at about 7.5, 7.54, maybe 7.45. Anyway, it relatively static. It dropped a little bit, but not much. At some point here in the coming weeks, they'll start pulling water out and we'll start seeing a bigger drop. But for right now, we'll just say that it's pretty consistent, other than what the wind is doing, where it pulls water out of one end of the lake and pushes it to another. Water temperature, all over the place. For the most part, by Wednesday, it was starting out 61, 62. You know, I saw as warm as 66, 67 in a couple areas I was in. The weather forecast suggests that we're going to start seeing a pretty good string of morning lows in the high 40s, perhaps even low to mid 50s. That's going to start pushing water temperatures up all over the lake. Hopefully, you know, we all know there's spawning going on. We just can't see it. So anyway, those are the water temps. upcoming activities, the only thing I know of tomorrow, Saturday, is Future Pro, and I'm not sure where they're going out of, nor am I sure what size event, it'll actually be. So that's about it. I'll tell you, overall fishing pressure is light, and it's light because, number one, I don't see a whole lot of people fishing for crappie. I know people ask about it all the time. I don't fish for them, but very, very rarely, and it's usually just in the winter. But I don't see a whole lot of people out fishing for crappie. Maybe there is a bunch of them down in the Keys, but the areas that I run around in where I normally see people doing it, not a whole lot. Bass fishing pressure, most of the people who are here are practicing for tournaments. There's a smaller group of people who are here just on vacation because it's just something that they always do. And with the fishing being as difficult as it is for the average fisherman, I just don't think, with gas prices and poor fishing results, I just don't think there's a whole lot of people traveling here to fish right now. So don't get me wrong, the fishing's tough, but there's some good fish out there, and some of them are being caught. So, I mean, we may have a day where we only catch 3 or 4 fish, but they're 4-pound plus fish, 4 to 6 pounders. This week we lost one that was probably a little over 7. We caught one that was a little over 7. So there's quality out there. It's just a matter of putting a bait on one and catching them. So that's, let's see, people also ask about carp. I didn't see a whole lot anywhere that I've been this week. Normally, you see a lot of them, and they're tearing up areas. I did when I was when I went down through some of the Tules down between the two Quercuses on the south shore there. I could hear carp tearing up, back in the Tules. But honestly, there's so much water that they can be 15, almost 20 yards back in the Tules doing their thing. You can't get to them or you can't see them. The other thing that's related to that is normally you would see the carp thrashing around out in the weed beds that are out in some of these bays or out in front of the Tules, and good luck finding weeds right now. I'm not seeing them anywhere. We just to try to do something different, we went through a couple of bays the other day throwing a speed trap. Never had to clean that bait once. That tells you something. I mean, there's just sat out in 8.5, 9 feet of water, just looking for a bite out there. Just an oddball fish cruising around, and not only did it not happen, but I semi-expected that I would be cleaning some weeds off, and it just didn't happen. So that weed growth may be around somewhere. I haven't seen it. It was way, way less last year. And it's looking like this year is about the same. So we'll be paying particular attention to see if we can find some of those weed beds coming up, because number one, it's great for helping clean out water in some of these bays, putting a little bit of filtering effect and clearing out some water. Number two, gives you a great place to target topwater fish. So the way things are looking right now, it's going to be a frog year that you're going to have to just toss it back in the middle of nowhere and work it out and wait to hear a splash. So that's it. That's my report. Hopefully we see you next week.